sort of introduce myself. I'm Fern Blood. I live up in northern Vermont, but I've been coming to TBA for a couple of years now. We originally tried to move back down to the Boston area, but that didn't work out. Originally, I'm from Pittsfield, Mass. My maiden name is Greenberg. Some people might know that name, family, whatever. So anyway, I'm loving TBA, and you guys are fabulous. So I'm very, very happy and very excited. So let's get started with baba ganoush. We have a lot to do through recipes. So I just have a half. I roasted in the oven. I also have made this on the grill. You can roast it on the grill. And so, yeah, no big deal. So what I'm going to do is just take the flesh. I have a spoon with a serrated edge, and just take the flesh off of the skin. And you can remove the seeds if you want. If you are using a food processor to make it, you probably don't need to. If you're just going to mash it, then it might be a good idea to try to get rid of some of the seeds. I don't think it really makes a huge difference, frankly. All right, so I am going to chop up the eggplant flesh. And I'm going to put it in a colander. So I have a colander in a bowl. I want to try and get as much of the liquid out as possible. Although we're actually going to be adding more liquid, so I don't really know. Anyway, and I have a masher. So I'm just going to use the masher to mash the eggplant in the colander so that we're mashing it pretty heavily and getting out a lot of the extra liquid. And if your colander has big enough holes, then you can get rid of some of the seeds that way too. Okay, so then, blah, blah, blah. Okay, so now I'm going to take the tahini. I happen to have this tahini. It's not what I would prefer, but it's what the health food store had while we're in the COVID shutdown. You can use any kind you want as long as all it is sesame seeds, the purest that you can get. And let's see, you want, since I'm making a smaller amount of the baba ganoush, I'm just using half an eggplant. I'll use a smaller amount of tahini. And if the tahini is room temperature, generally the oil is mixed back in. But if you've just taken it out of the refrigerator, you might have to stir it quite a bit. So I am going to do 1 tablespoon of the tahini, a heaping tablespoon. Small bowl, because basically we're making the sauce that goes into the baba ganoush. And there's that. Making a mess. And then, since again, I'm basically doing half the recipe, so I'm just going to squeeze half a lemon into the tahini.
Oh, I need to get myself one of those.
I love it. I love this thing. It's fabulous. I've tried others, and as long as you have the strength in your hands and your wrists.
Well, I got the old Tupperware one with the thingy on the top.
Okay, so half a lemon, juice of half a lemon, and then basically as much water as you need to make it a nice consistency. So I'm starting with 1 tablespoon, and I'm just going to stir it and see how it mixes together. And so it's still a little thick. You can see it's still a little thick, so I'm going to put a little more water in. I don't know, another teaspoon, 2 teaspoons, just as much as you think it needs to make it, you know, a little runny. And so, yeah, I can leave it at that. So now I am going to take the mashed eggplant flesh, which now that I've mashed it, there's not a whole lot left, stuck in all the crevices of the colander. But you'll be making it with a whole eggplant, so there'll be plenty. So that's enough of that. And then I'm going to add in the tahini, water, lemon juice mixture to it. Mix that up, stir that up. So you see there's not a whole lot here. Can you see this okay?
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
And then I am going to take garlic. So again, this is a personal preference. If you like them very garlicky, feel free to, add more. I'm just adding,
Turn off your mic.
basically, this is a quarter of a large clove. I don't like very spicy. Carol, I know you like very spicy.
I do.
Probably very garlicky too.
Mm-hmm.
So I am going to, I have a garlic press, which I love. Do other people use a garlic press?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, okay. So I'm just putting
Heidi,
all
you
the-
don't?
No, I don't.
Something else I have to buy.
I stopped doing it. I used to, but not anymore.
the
Pain to
shopping.
clean, but it's a lot easier, I find.
Yeah.
Again, if you have strong hands, so, yeah, there we go. And, okay, and since I'm a waste not, want not person, I do turn it around and push out the little bits that are left inside, so I can get every little bit. Okay, and then just mix that up. Now, you see, it's pretty chunky, right?
Mhm.
But I'm going to taste it and see. Not bad. All right. And a little salt to taste. Again, what your personal preference is. And I think I'm just going to add a little bit more water because I want it a little, it's not exactly spreadable, it's dippable. If you have something like a cracker, like, a matzah or a pita chip or something. But if you want, or, a carrot stick. Okay, so here, this is what it looks like.
Mm.
It's still a little chunky. And let me get a bowl and put it in the bowl. And we'll take a little, sorry about that, a little parsley for garnish. I got no room left on here. Let me just get rid of some of this stuff. All right. There we go. All right, and just mince up the parsley. You could use cilantro. I'm using parsley. And you could also, where's my other thing? You could also, for garnish, you could use cumin. You could use ground cumin. You could, my notes, I don't know what I did with my notes. And I'm going to use good quality olive oil. I use this. This was recommended by the people at America's Test Kitchen.
Oh, yes.
And I really like this just for, like, I'll make a maple balsamic vinaigrette. You know, if I don't cook with this, I just use this.
To finish. A finishing oil.
Thank you.
What kind is it?
So it's Columella. Can you read it? Is it
Yeah,
right
now I
side?
Extra version. Is that a first press?
I'm sorry?
Is that a first press?
Oh, boy.
Extra virgin.
It says cold pressed.
Cold press. Okay.
I don't know. It says filtered, and it's a product of Spain.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
Ooh.
So not Italy. It's a Spanish. It's a.
Yeah, it's
It could be stronger.
very green, and I like it a lot. I use, yeah. So you just put a little on top, and then you sprinkle your parsley on top. And there you go. There you go. And I use, let me show you.
Marty, can you answer that?
So I really like these Stacy's pita chips. Wicked ones. I like, you know. So let's just see here.
Like those too much.
Not bad. Okay. Any questions?
I had read that that you could substitute sesame oil for tahini if you couldn't get tahini. Do you think that would be okay?
I don't see why not. It's, you know, sesame, it depends. Is it toasted sesame oil or plain sesame oil?
This is what I use, pure sesame oil.
I think that would change the consistency, Carol.
Yeah,
It did change the consistency, but it still tastes pretty good.
Good.
Is that Asian sesame oil or plain?
Yes. Sun Luck, yeah,
So it has an Asian.
right.
That's interesting. I should try
So,
that.
well,
Yeah,
only
taste.
because I couldn't get tahini until Friday, so.
We do what we have to do.
That's right. Sacrifice. They'll eat it anyway.
Good.
Oh, yeah. Depends on who you're feeding.
No, that's true.
Okay. Moving right along. Are we ready to, this is great. This is terrific. We could end early. This is great. Okay, how are we doing?
great.
Good.
Good.
Okay. So now this Asian style coleslaw. I really like it a lot. I make it a lot in the summer. And it's really simple and really yummy. Now I do use cooked pasta in it, but you don't need to, it's optional. Or you could use a grain for people who are need gluten-free. I'm sure that you could use a grain.
Rice.
Quinoa,
Quinoa rice.
rice, but there is
Yeah.
gluten-free pasta too.
Do
Yes.
they have to be cooked ahead of time, Fern? Because I've had some Asian coleslaws that it's crunchy, that like the ramen noodles are crunchy in there, that they use crunchy ramen.
If you use like a spaghetti or something, yeah, I would cook it ahead of
Mhm.
time. You know, it depends. You could probably use those Chinese noodles, you know, those crunchy
That's crunchy noodle.
Chinese noodles.
Yeah.
You know, if you want to give it a little more sort of carbs.
Okay.
Okay, so now I need a big bowl, which I didn't set out. Okay. Okay, here we go. So what I'm going to do first is make the dressing. Because what you do is if you do make the pasta, you want to have the pasta be warm. I made it just before we started. And then you put the dressing into the warm, you mix it into the warm pasta so that it absorbs the dressing. So let's make the dressing. And it is, now the recipe calls for seasoned rice vinegar. I don't really know what that is. I have just a plain rice vinegar, Kikkoman
Seasoned
rice
has some
vinegar.
sugar in it.
Season has sugar.
Has sugar.
There's sugar.
Yeah. This is
The
seasoned.
seasoned
No,
has
the
sugar.
seasoned one has sugar.
It says, this one says seasoned gourmet rice vinegar. It's the same company.
Right.
Yeah,
So one might be gluten-free and one may not be gluten-free.
This one is gluten-free. It says on the back, gluten-free.
uh-huh.
Uh-huh. That's
And
the
it does have sugar in it.
So this does not actually. So
Right.
actually, personally, I prefer not to have the sugar in the vinegar. And then because this recipe calls for sugar. So then I can be sure that I know how much sugar is in there. So this is 1.5 tablespoons of rice vinegar. So here's 1, here's a half, more or less.
Fern, how far ahead can you make this?
I've been, so when I practiced, I took a whole head of lettuce. It was like a medium small head of lettuce. I made half of it. I ate it for a week. Now,
Oh, okay.
before you serve it, you can put things like chopped peanuts or sesame seeds or cilantro or parsley. I wouldn't add those until just before you serve. So just have the salad, you know, the vegetables and the pasta with the dressing if you're going to use it. And then when you eat it, if you're having leftovers or if you're, you know, made a lot and you want it leftovers, you know, for a few days, just don't put the add-ins on. Jeffrey, can you get away from the, thank you, Jeffrey the cat. Okay, and mayo. Now so I use full fat. I try not to use a lot, but I think it makes a difference in the taste. You know, if you know, for health reasons, if you need to use low fat, use low fat. This is not. And let's see. So this is 1/3 cup of mayo. And I like Hellmann's. I've used cane. Sometimes I like that. The Chef and the Farmer, this woman in Eastern North Carolina, I think she uses
But she what?
she uses Dukes, I believe. Dukes.
Yeah, that's in the South only though.
That's,
And
yeah,
it's
southern
Heard of it.
mayo.
Yeah. So I've got the mayo. And so here's the sesame oil. So this is toasted sesame oil. So, you know, it has a much richer flavor than if it's not toasted. So mind.
Very strong.
Yeah.
1 1¼ teaspoons of sesame oil. That. Mix that in. And sriracha. This is very cool. As I said to Carol before, I don't like very spicy. You know, when I was younger, I did, but now I don't. But this is really great stuff. But I use very little of it. And again, this is personal preference. Use as much or as little as you like. So I am just going to put in ½ teaspoon. Well, a little less than ½ teaspoon, because this is actually a recipe. So there's a lot of dressing. So mix that in. And then this calls for ¼ teaspoon of sugar. So there's the sugar. Okay. Mixing this up in the bowl, and you know, it's like a dressing. See, it's like a. All right. So now what I'm going to do is I made spaghetti, thin spaghetti, and I actually broke it up in half and then in half again, so into quarters, so that I don't need a knife when I'm eating this this salad. So I'm just going to add, and it's still a little warm, so I'm going to add the dressing to the spaghetti so it can absorb the dressing. And I'll just stir that up. And I'm just going to put that to the side. Okay. So now, I'm going to put the salad together. So where am I doing this? Hello. So it calls for 4 cups of shredded cabbage. So I started. Okay, so not that you really needed to watch me chop this all up, but what the heck. So I cut out the core. You don't need the core. There we go. And then you just slice it, you know, as thin or as thick as you like. And then I cut it again into smaller pieces. And in the bowl. Okay, and then I had already chopped some before, so we'll put that all in there. So this makes a lot. It's a lot. And then you also add shredded carrots. So I'm going to, again, shred up some carrots. Any questions?
You're doing great, Fern.
I'm sorry?
You're doing great. Good job.
Yeah, I was debating about how much to prep ahead of time. You know, I didn't want to just say I'm adding a bowl of this and I'm adding a bowl of that, but okay, there we go.
Yeah, this is perfect.
You guys are great. All right, so I have that, and of course, I have some I did before. That goes in. There goes that. And then scallions. So I have here, what have I got? 4. This calls for 5 or 6, you know, whatever you like. And I was thinking also, if you wanted, you could use things like jicama or kohlrabi in this. I think that that would also be really good, nice crunch, nice and healthy. If you wanted to, you could slice these scallions on the bias so they look pretty. I'm just doing a rough chop. And there goes that. And then I add in the
How much carrot did you use?
I'm sorry?
How much carrot did you add?
Yeah, about a cup. About a cup. All right, so you can see this is a big bowl and it's a lot of stuff, right? So I'm just gonna mix this up a little, and then I'm going to put the pasta, and there's not a lot. There's not really a lot, and it's full of dressing, a lot of dressing. And then I'm just going to stir that in. Now, the picture that Rose put with the recipes, the instruction, it showed red cabbage, which would be great because it would make it much more colorful. This I just used plain green cabbage. So it kind of looks Irish. So there's green and orange.
Listen, there's a limited amount of things that you can find on the internet, just like
no, that's fine.
you can only find certain types of tahini in the store right now.
I
Same
thought that was
problems.
good. I said, oh, you know, that's a really good idea to use red cabbage. That's cool. Or you could, instead of the scallions, you could probably use red onion, you know, if that's what you like.
You could
And
probably
that
put Chinese cabbage. Napa cabbage would go good with that too.
Yeah.
Napa. And a mixture of green and purple would be nice too.
Yeah, it would be really pretty. Okay, so basically, oh, and I'm adding, what am I? I'm adding salt and pepper to taste. Again, it's your own personal preference. I couldn't tell you how much I put in there. And a little, I do have to say, I like fresh ground pepper. I think that that makes a big difference. So, oh boy, yes, it does. Okay.
So this lasts about a week in the refrigerator? Are you saying about a week it lasts in the refrigerator once mixed?
Oh, sure, sure. Just do this and then put the add-ins later. Okay. So let me paste this, a little bitty spoon. Let's see how this is. I like it. Not really. I like it. I think it's great. You know, maybe you could use a little less mayo, or maybe I could use a little more vegetables. Oh, that's good. That's not bad. Okay.
Good job.
So I'm going to make a bowl, and I've actually used this. If I've had like rotisserie chicken, or I've cooked up a chicken, roasted a chicken, or even just boneless, skinless breasts, I would poach them. I would chop up a little chicken. You could tofu in this. You know, this could be a one-dish meal. All right. So let's dish this up. And there goes that. And this is a good serving. And also what you're going to want is, what I like is chopped peanuts. So this is what it looks like. I don't know, is it too much light? Is there enough? Is that
Oh,
okay?
yeah, we can see it. It looks good.
I have roasted peanuts. I bought them that way, and then I just chop them up. I actually really prefer taking the raw peanuts, you know, from the shells, toasting them in the toaster oven myself. So just add some chopped peanuts, and you're good to go. It's yummy. I have to say, I really like it a lot. So this is what it looks like.
That's good.
It's yeah.
How many miles away are you? Come on.
Come on up. Come on up.
That's good.
That's
Maybe
great.
I'll drive your gift up.
Yeah, a little bit of that dressing goes a long way.
Right.
I did the cabbage too, and it's all incorporated in there. That's nice.
Right.
Yeah. So what do you think, ladies?
Very
Nice.
Sounds delicious. I have
We
a
have to
question.
come to your house. Yum.
good. Yum.
Which Tahini? You said
You know you're a natural. You have to do this all the time.
Oh my God, no. You know, it's so funny. Is that Ida?
Yeah,
Is that Ida?
right.
Yeah. You know, I could tell the minute you started, I said, this woman is a pro.
Oh.
And I didn't know anything about you. And then I learned you do catering, and then you worked in, yeah, and it was like, oh my God, this woman knows what she's doing. And
Not
I'm
all
like,
the time, believe me.
very impressive. So I have, you know, I was like, it took me, you know, quite a few days to prep for this. So I don't know. I would like, if people are interested, at some point, I would like to do pie crust.
Oh, yeah, I would be very interested in that because I don't make pie crust
I
from
don't make
scratch.
pie crusts either.
I buy, well, I'm gluten-free, but I buy it. But I just, you know, I have a very, very stiff hand when I do the pie crust. You know, I kill it. It's like,
Make good.
get all my anger out of that pie crust.
Yeah, you want to save that for the mashed potatoes.
Right. Right.
And I would always make, I learned from my mother. I didn't make, and then I really had to spend like 3 months practicing.
Oh, wow.
Then I did it, and I have a recipe that I use that makes 4 rounds, and you put them in the freezer. So you can have 2 double crust pies or 4 single crust pies or whatever.
Can you
Two.
freeze it?
Yeah, freeze it.
Yeah.
You end up putting them, you wrap them in cling wrap in a round, and you put them in a Ziploc bag and you freeze them. And then you take them out and you defrost them in the refrigerator because, you know, you want it to be cold.
Mhm.
Use that part of the technique is
Right,
make
the
sure
process.
that the dough is really cold. And
What's
I'll
the
go into
shortening?
the whole thing.
What's the shortening do you use? What shortening do you use in the?
Well, see, there you go. So
Okay.
That's the secret.
We'll hold our ears. Hold on.
she's doing. She knows what she's doing. So after a lot of trial and error, I use both unsalted butter and what is it, Crisco.
Crisco.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, okay.
Some people may not like to do that.
Right.
I don't prefer an all butter crust.
All right.
I've actually never made pie crust with lard. I just, you know, I don't keep kosher, but I just didn't feel comfortable with that.
Yeah, I
And
know the lard. It's like-
I like the recipe that I have. So anyway, I kind of got tired of it. And so I do actually buy the pie crust in the freezer. I don't like, the only one that I do like is Orinoco Orchards.
Mhm.
Oh,
Yeah.
And they're already in a pie plate. They can get a, you know, a regular pie or a deep dish pie.
mm.
Yeah. and you bake them. You know, they're unbaked, but I think they're delicious. And I'm very picky, so that's definitely, you know, if you don't want to go to the bother, and I certainly understand that. I've been
Right.
I love making pie crust.
All right.